Hey guys, welcome back to the channel McNallie Money, home of all things stock, investment, and personal finance related. Now for today's video, we're going to be continuing along our theme with battery materials or battery metals. This time we're focused on a company by the name of Recharge Resources. I'm really excited to talk about them for a number of reasons we're going to lay out in today's video. But before we do, please take a second, hit the like button, you guys. It's a big help to myself and the channel. If you're not already subscribed, McNallie Money, feel free to do so. And let me know in the comment section below if you're currently holding shares of Recharge, how you think they stack up to some of the other players in this space, and how you think they look moving forward. Now with that being said, let's get into today's video. Okay guys, so today's video we're going to be taking a look at Recharge Resources Ltd. Trades on the OTC in the United States under the ticker symbol RECHF, and on the CSE here in Canada under the ticker symbol RR. So you can see on the Canadian side of things was up about 1.3% on the day to close out at 39.5 cents Canadian. And on the US side of things, they were down about 5% to close out at 27 cents US. Now this is a really interesting company for a number of reasons we're going to talk about in today's presentation. But before we get into it, I quickly wanted to bring up a quick chart. This is a 6-month view on Recharge Resources. You can see back in the middle of August of last year, they were trading around 20 cents. We actually hit a high on October 4th of 55 cents. We're going to talk about some of the major moves we've seen in share price a little bit later in the presentation. It then leveled out in kind of the mid to low 20 cent range, and we're now sitting again at that 27 cents US. Now, before we get into the investor presentation, I quickly wanted to jump over to the company website. I'll leave a link in the video description below. So as you can see, Recharge Resources exploring a cleaner future through the power of battery metals. Again, this is a trend and a category we've talked about extensively on the channel. I'm super bullish about this overall sector moving forward, especially as we see the increased adoption of electric vehicles, solar powers, batteries, and the like. Now, Recharge Resources is a Canadian mineral exploration company. They're focused on exploring and developing the production of high-value battery metals to create green renewable energy to meet the demands of exactly that, the advancing electric vehicle and fuel cell vehicle markets. And you can see they specifically cite the increasing demand for electric vehicles on the homepage of their website, and around 90% of the battery demand is going to come from electric vehicles over the next 2 decades. And as we've learned in previous videos, battery metals are the raw materials that are used in the production of these batteries, and they include things like lithium, nickel, cobalt, manganese, and graphite, just to name a few. Now, what I really like about Recharge specifically is they're uniquely positioned to acquire these mining properties that are going to produce various different battery metals. So you've got the diversification factor there, which, as you know, I love in any investment I'm making. And with these high potential exploration projects in the 3 categories we just listed, which is lithium, nickel, and cobalt, Recharge Resources is really capitalizing on the various and numerous opportunities that the electric vehicle market and the battery power markets are really providing. Now, with that being said, if we jump into the investor presentation, you can see battery metals are going to power the future. The global battery metals market size was valued at $14.7 billion back in 2019, and that's expected to grow at a compound annual growth rate of about 2.3% from 2020 through to 2027. So an absolutely massive market with growth projected for years and years to come. And again, as we've talked about in previous videos, a lot of the inputs here, or the battery metals, are sourced from countries overseas, and there's a big focus in North America from both Canada and the United States to bring the production onshore and get away from some of these controversial countries where maybe there's geopolitical risk, there's strained relationships, or maybe not the most healthy mining practices. So you can see it's expected Argentina will overtake Chile in terms of lithium production in or around the year 2027. And overall, about 65% of the global lithium produced today goes towards battery production. And you can see some of the bigger producing countries listed at the bottom: Australia, Chile, China, Argentina, Zimbabwe, Portugal, Brazil, and obviously a focus to bring that to some of these more stable countries, specifically Argentina, in the case of Recharge Resources. Now this is where it really gets exciting. So if we start to look at their project portfolio, I wanted to spend a little bit of time on the various different assets or properties currently under the Recharge umbrella. So the first one here is Pocitos 1. This is a salar in Argentina. So this is a brine or lithium brine, again, as we've talked about in previous videos. And the nice thing about this property is it's located only 10 kilometers away from the township of Pocitos, which has electricity, natural gas, telephone, internet services, and all the associated infrastructure already in place. So this is approximately 800 hectares. It's part of one of these salars, which again is a lithium brine location. It's road accessible, and there's already been about $1.5 million US spent on exploration and development at this site, along with a successful drill program. So this location or asset currently is under 100% option to Recharge Resources, which was announced on March 23rd of 2022. And again, one of the key assets within that portfolio. Now the next one is located here in Canada in British Columbia. It's known as Brussels Creek. And again, in an attempt to bring a lot of this production onshore or back into North America, this one actually features gold, copper, and palladium. And as you can see on the next slide, there's a rich history in this location of copper deposits, and copper is extremely valuable in the production of battery electric vehicles or hybrid electric vehicles, especially when you compare that to traditional ICE or internal combustion engines. So as you can see, in a traditional internal combustion engine car, you require about 48 pounds of copper, whereas in a hybrid, you're looking at 88 pounds of copper, and in a battery electric vehicle, up to 183 pounds of copper. So another key asset within the Recharge Resource portfolio. Now they've also got the Pinchi Lake location, again in British Columbia, focused on nickel, and this is a 100% owned project. And as you can see, a quote from the big guy himself there, Elon Musk: "Wherever you are in the world, please mine more nickel," claiming that Tesla will give you a giant contract for a long period of time if you mine nickel efficiently in an environmentally sensitive way. And that's why Canada is really a hotbed for a lot of this mining activity, because of the political structure here and the mining friendly jurisdiction. Now, as if all of that wasn't good enough, they've then got their Georgia Lake, Ontario location, again focused on lithium here, and really a hotbed for mining and exploration activity. You can see ROCTEC Lithium, Kelly James Malcolm, and Ultra Lithium Incorporated all operating in the same region, and the Recharge Resource locations in lime green here. So really quite a robust and diverse portfolio in Canada and in South America that you're getting with Recharge Resources. Now, the other thing that really is a differentiator in my mind is the technology and the expansion plans associated with the team at Recharge Resources. So when you talk about technology, specifically this ExoSolve lithium extraction technology, what this really allows Recharge Resources to do is to produce or extract lithium in a timely, competitive, cost, and environmentally sensitive extraction process. So this is a revolutionary process that is based on well-known solvent exchange principles, and Recharge has an Argentina-wide license for the utilization of the ExoSolve technology. So this is really focused on recovering lithium from those brine solutions, those salars, which we talked about. And in addition to that, they've already got a license to develop up to a 20,000 ton lithium plant in Argentina as well. And you can see some of the benefits of this technology listed here. So there's no ponds required, which saves approximately $100 million in CapEx or startup fees. There's time improvements, there's lithium grade improvements, there's recovery improvements, so the reduction in overall OpEx, and it allows for faster construction time, minimal water use, with a multi-phase plant currently being contemplated for the Pocitos 1 project, again with the goal of producing up to 20,000 tons of lithium annually. So with that being said, I now wanted to jump over to trendingstocknewsreport.com. We've referenced some of their articles on this channel in the past. I'll leave a link again in the video description below and talk about 7 key reasons why they're so excited or bullish on Recharge Resources. So the article is titled, "With demand for electric vehicles soaring in 2023, the US is frantically racing to secure supplies of critical battery metals, again, and bring that production onshore here, or at least to North America. See why now could be the best time to start your research on Recharge Resources," again, dual listed on the CSE here in Canada and the OTC in the United States. under the ticker RR and RECHF respectively. And they then go on to lay out 7 critical reasons or key catalysts for Recharge Resources moving forward. Now I'll briefly touch on each of the 7 in the intro here, then we'll expand on them in a little bit more detail as we move through the presentation. So the first point mentioned is significant upside potential in the share price of Recharge Resources specifically. So this company has already seen massive moves in share price in excess of 5,700% when they reached an intraday high of $1.05 on October 4th last year after bouncing off 52-week lows of just under 2 cents on May 31st of that year. So massive move. Again, we've seen this a lot in the resource exploration space. And although we're not expecting another 5,700% move, it's something to be noted here that there's significant upside potential. Now, the second point is related to the Canadian market itself. So very similar to what we saw in the OTC, but on the CSE here in Canada, Recharge Resources jumped 3,650% during that same time period. So whether you're looking on the OTC in the US or the CSE here in Canada, significant upside potential and major moves to the upside that we've seen historically from this company. And to really hit that point home, we saw another 483% move in under 7 trading days, you guys, when they reached that high of $1.05, again, October 4th of 2022, compared to the intraday low of only 18 cents we saw on September 26th of the same year. So again, massive move in a very short amount of time. Now, the next couple points move away from the share price and the chart itself and talk about the macro environment. So that soaring demand for electric vehicles. According to the Financial Times, the US government offered a loan of up to $700 million to an Australian producer for their undeveloped lithium mine and processing plant in Nevada. So really speaking to the fact that the United States government wants to control their own production of these battery metals. And that's really a direct response to point 5 here, which talks about the restricted lithium supply that is causing a lot of problems in terms of supply-demand imbalance in the world right now. So Elon Musk, as we've talked about in previous videos, recently had to renegotiate a lithium supply agreement. And due to a lot of the regulatory red tape found around the world and in the United States, people are really looking to Canada to become a key player or supplier in this market. Now, fortunately, in the case of Recharge Resources, this situation is expected to get worse over time, so they're expecting to need at least 30 times as much lithium, nickel, and other key minerals and metals to support the electric car industry by 2024. So the demand is increasing and the supply, again, is very hard to come by. And that's what makes companies like Recharge Resources so valuable, especially when they've got the assets that we just looked at within their portfolio. And you can see they talk about some of these lithium and nickel resources or assets in the 7th point here. So to drill into these points in a little bit more detail, here you can actually see that massive 5,700% move on the OTC from the end of May to the start of October. So a huge spike in share price here. And similarly on the CSE in Canada, you can see that impressive 3,650% move. And last but not least, here's a graph of the 483% move we talked about in the 3rd point. And what's super impressive about this jump is it occurred in only 7 days. Now, as we all know, you can't use history to predict the future, but it definitely is a good indicator. And generally, companies like this that have the ability to make big upward swings tend to repeat themselves as we see more and more investor attention towards this space. Now, the article then goes on to talk about the selling and building of electric vehicles in the United States. So 2022 was really a breakout year for electric vehicles when they hit the mainstream. Our family just got back from a trip from Los Angeles, and literally every other car on the road is a Tesla down there. It really opened my eyes to the demand and the volume of these vehicles that's being built and sold. And that really forced the Biden administration to pass something called the Inflation Reduction Act, which has already had a massive effect on the EV industry as automakers work to onshore their supply chains and factories. So bring that stuff onshore and out of some of those countries we looked at in the intro. Now, in addition to that, under this bill, electric vehicles could qualify for up to a $7,500 tax credit, and this is going to increase the demand as obviously consumers want to attain this credit. And that's really a perfect segue to this chart here, which projects out the electric vehicle sales in the United States from now until the year 2030, with expectations of approximately 4.7 million units being sold in the year 2030. So again, the United States government is really looking for ways, specifically the Department of Energy, to fast track a lot of these sites and operations into production. And as of the time of filming, the US only had one operational lithium mine and another one that's proposed in Nevada, but again, held up with some of that red tape. Now, where this gets really exciting and some big catalysts on the horizon for Recharge Resources, on December 29th of last year, they actually announced that they'd completed or finalized processing of some high-resolution heli-borne magnetic survey data, so aerial survey data of their 100% owned Georgia Lake and West Lithium properties here in Canada in the province of Ontario. Now, what's super special about this property is right next to RECHF Lithium and is located within the Thunder Bay Mining Division. Now, RECHF Lithium, if you're unaware, just signed a major supply agreement with Mercedes-Benz to receive an average 10,000 tons of battery-grade lithium hydroxide each year. And this deal has a value over 5 years of 1.5 billion euros, so about $1.47 billion US, and provides enough lithium hydroxide for approximately 150,000 cars a year. And keep in mind, we're talking about demand in the neighborhood of millions of electric vehicles each and every year as we get into the back half of this decade. So the thinking here is because this asset or location is so close to the RECHF location, the lithium-bearing structures at these sites should be very similar, and this should act as a major catalyst for Recharge Resources moving forward. And that's why they go on to make the claim that this news could be game-changing for Recharge Resources. Simply put, the company who made the strategic partnership with Mercedes-Benz is right next door to Recharge Resources. So the CEO, David Greenway, goes on to say, while we continue to advance our 2 fully funded drill programs at our Brussels Creek and Pocitos 1 lithium salaire in Argentina, it's hard to ignore the developments of our neighbor, RECHF Lithium, and their new strategic partnership with the premium automaker Mercedes-Benz. Recharge Resources will plan a surface reconnaissance exploration program at our Georgia Lake projects with the goal of identifying the potential for continuity of mineralization from RECHF's active development at Georgia Lake. So really an extension of that formation. Again, massive game changer for Recharge Resources. Now, the final thing I wanted to mention in today's presentation is just the leadership team that's been brought together at Recharge Resources. So David Greenway, we just saw the comments there. He's the CEO. He's got 2 decades experience in managing financing, developing growth strategies for various different TSX Venture and CSE exchange listed companies. And you can see a long list of his previous roles and companies worked for in the bio here. In addition to that, he's surrounded himself by a rock star team that has decades of experience in their respective fields and really adds a lot of knowledge, existing connections, and confidence to the overall company. So for those reasons, you guys, and everything else we discussed in today's presentation, I definitely think you should take a look at Recharge Resources if you're looking for exposure to the battery metals or battery materials space. And I actually wanted to leave you with this slide here, which compares some of the advanced stage lithium exploration companies. You can see Recharge Resources listed on top there, along with Spey Resources, which we've covered on the channel, Arena Minerals, Alpha Lithium, Lithium Chile, Lithium South Development Corp, and their respective market caps. So when you look at the other players in this space, Recharge Resources is trading at a fraction of the valuation of these other companies, despite their impressive portfolio and assets discussed in this video. So for those reasons, you guys, really like this one. I'd definitely be curious to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Are you currently holding shares of Recharge? How do you think they stack up to some of these other players? And what are your thoughts moving forward? If you're still watching the video, hopefully you found some value, so make sure you smash the like button. And if you're not part of the community, feel free to subscribe to McNallie Money channel. We'd love to have you. That's all for now. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.